Out on the homestead here, I'm not a mechanic. Most likely you're not a mechanic. We read our manuals and follow the instructions in there on how we take care of our equipment. I'd recommend you doing the same because it might be different for your machines. Thanks. Welcome to the Weekend Homestead. This weekend, a continuation of our snowmobile repairs and getting ready for the season. We run through 2 more Artic Cat snowmobiles that we have and show you what we needed to do to them. It's very similar to new snowmobiles, very simple steps. Anyone can do them, we'll show you how. Also, on one of the snowmobiles this time around, we did run into some engine issues and we'll show you quickly how we got that fixed and what we needed to do to get it running. So come on with me back to the shop and we'll get these other 2 Artic Cats running for the season. So this one, I don't have as much inside of because this is kind of our backup sled. Gloves. This one, on older snowmobiles, they use a lot of oil. So what I do is I always keep an extra quart of oil in the back. The other thing on older snowmobiles is you always want to have an extra set of spark plugs. So this is one last one on these older sleds, and even on newer ones, they have what's called a manual pull. So let's pretend for a minute this rope breaks and you can't start your snowmobile. You can take this, wrap it around, and give it a pull on this side, and it'll get you out in an emergency. So one quick tip I have is I use gloves on my hands. When you're working on 2-cycle machinery, or any machinery for that matter, a lot of oil, grime, and all that, simple pair of gloves make it really easy. You can slide them off. You have clean hands to do whatever you need to do. Put another set on. They're really cheap. Saves from having to wash your hands about a dozen times when you're working on this. Wow. I'm very surprised. I'll be honest with you, I was guessing that we would have something in this one here. Once again, same thing. Checking in here to see if any friends have made any nests or anything. Any fluids are leaking. While I'm in here, I turn on the gas. As you can see, our coolant level is really low, so we're going to top that off. The oil level is pretty good right there, so I don't think we'll have to top that off. We have our spare belt. Everything else looks pretty clean. All the stuff we're doing, there's nothing really super special about it. I'm not mechanically inclined, but you just learn, read the manual, and it'll give you all the information. Check in here, see, make sure there's no nests. Check your belt to make sure it's good and tight. Check everything. Overall, you want to make sure nothing's frayed, falling apart. Really simple. It's pretty much the same thing for each snowmobile you have. These plugs are probably about, I'd say, 2 years old. And I just like to start the season with a new set. We didn't ride last year, so yeah, as you can see, they're blackened on the end and a little bit burnt. The nice thing is with a little bit of shine on there, that tells me that the fogging oil that we put in the cylinder to prevent rust is still in there because there's a little bit of shine on the spark plugs.
Oh, okay. So do these go through spark plugs faster just because of the type of the engine they are, or?
I'd say yes. I try to be pretty religious about the spark plugs. Again, a little bit of starter fluid just to kind of get things going. Don't want to do too much because too much can crack the cylinder. I mean, these are about $2 a piece, so for $4, you can make it so one of the parts on your snowmobile is always fresh and new.
Yeah. These
snowmobiles are from 1991, so quite honestly, I've gone through a lot of spark plugs on it, but I've also never been stranded out there due to engine issues. A little bit of wrench on them. Make them tight, and then one little extra on them. Make sure your cables are good. Before I put this in storage, I put new spark plug cables on. As you can see, they're not frayed, worn, or anything like that. They're in really good condition. When you put them on, when you push them down, you'll feel a little click in there. That's the end of the wire grabbing the end of the spark plug. Alright, wipe up a little bit of overspray here on this. Open up our oil. As you can see, the oil, I've got my flashlight here. As you can see, the oil is right up to the top here, so we're good on that. But can see here, the line for the coolant is right there, and our coolant is down. Some snowmobiles are air cooled. These ones are liquid cooled. Liquid cooled is nice because in warmer temperatures, it tends to run a little better. What I like to do is get a large container of antifreeze, and then in this smaller one that I use over and over again, I just top off with it, so I know that this is the right mix in every one of them. The larger container is the pure antifreeze. This is the already mixed, so anytime I need to top off during the season, I have it ready to go. All right, we got 2 grease zerks, one here, one here. On older snowmobiles, the suspension isn't as robust or as complicated as new snowmobiles. One thing about older snowmobiles, it's a little bit rougher of a ride, but they didn't have the technology back then. This is the 91, so the technology has definitely changed in 10 and 20 years. All right, here we go. Slide that in right just like so. And we'll give it a couple pumps. 1, 2, 3. Now as you can see on the end here, if you can see where my finger is, there's grease that's actually squirting out. The color of the grease that goes in is this purple color here. The color of the grease coming out is black. Most likely after this season, I'll take and tear the suspension apart, clean out the connectors and everything, and make sure everything is well greased and good to go. So if you ever wonder what dirty grease looks like, I'm just cleaning it off here. That's what the grease looks like after it's been sitting for a while. When we pump grease into these, I'll show you what it looks like. But the grease that I normally put in is snowmobile grease. You can get it at your average ATV and snowmobile shop. It's purple color, but that's what it looks like after it's been in for a season or two. So I always like to refresh it just to make sure. So this is what we're connecting to, this little guy right there. It's called a grease zerk. This gun right here connects to right there. So you just go like so, and it clips on. Give it a squeeze. See it coming off the side there? What that's telling me is the grease that I'm putting in is pushing the bad grease out. There you go. You can see the color difference. We'll clean this up and we'll move on to gas. Always use 92 or 93 octane fuel inside your small engines. Your small engines will thank you for that. So if you have a snowmobile, one of the requirements is take the old stickers off. As you can see, this one's from 2012 to give you an idea how long this has been in storage. So it was in storage since 2011, so this is the first time we have it out.
1 minute.
Cameron, do you know where the red button is on the snowmobile? Can you show me? There's the red button. There you go. Nice job, buddy. Alrighty, so sometimes this happens. This one here, we got it turned over and then immediately had to stop. It's dumping gas out of the left cylinder here. I am guessing that something's open and stuck. So what we're gonna do is leave this open for a little bit with the door open and let the gas evaporate. There's a big puddle here on the floor. Once it all evaporates out, we're gonna do a little searching online to see if we can figure out how to fix it. This kind of stuff happens out on the homestead from time to time. You just have to do a little bit of research, and a lot of times, most of the issues you run into, you can fix yourself. So we'll take a look at this in a little bit once it's getting evaporates out, and we'll figure out what's going on with it. Alrighty, so I just wanted to take a little bit of time here and walk through the repair that we did. As you can see, we're working on the left carburetor. That's actually where the fuel was leaking from. We just kind of took the sled apart and backtracked a little bit to figure out what was happening. If you look on the bottom here, there's a very simple pin that mounts in the bottom of the unit that travels up and down. Well, when the pin is stuck open, unfortunately the fuel continues to pour out of that carburetor. That stuck pin was what was leading to the fuel leaking out. So we took some simple carburetor cleaner like you'd use on your car, sprayed on the different components in there, freed up the pin, and once it started moving again, we put it all back together and put it back into the snowmobile. So then we just added a little bit of fuel to the system and it turned over right away, solved our problem. The way we figured out how to do this fix is we did a little search online with the name of what the problem was and the model number of our sled, and it was pretty interesting to find how many different people had this similar problem and a step-by-step on how to fix it. The methods of looking in their manuals, doing some searching online, and a little bit of research on our own to see if we can fix our own problems before we take them into a repair shop. It saves us a lot of money in the long run, and actually, surprisingly enough, you learn a lot about your machines in the process. Thanks for watching this week's episode of the Weekend Homestead. If you like what we're doing, make sure you give us a thumbs up and subscribe down below and keep updated on what we're doing on the homestead. This has been the Weekend Homestead, living the simple life one weekend at a time. Thanks for watching.